everybody. This is your Nexus Report for November 20th, 2017, and I apologize for being out all last week. I kept thinking I would feel better the next day, and I never did, but back with you again. I'm not going to waste a single moment today telling you the Charles Manson story. We all know Charles Manson. We all know what Charles Manson was. We know the world is a better place now that he's not on it. But there are two things about Manson that I think bear a quick look at. One of them is this. Charlie Manson is the evil mass murderer from Central Casting. I mean, Charlie Manson was a guy who was so obviously crazy, so obviously evil, that didn't take any question about it. Anybody could see that. And the point I'd like to make first is that just because Charlie Manson was so chatty and because his murders were so high profile, he had a chance to talk to people, but most murderers are like this. It's not like Manson was an aberration. You can't just go out there and kill 100 people or 20 people or 60 people or whatever in Vegas or any of these other places. They're all barking mad, as crazy as Charlie Manson is, but they didn't get the microphone. And the idea that somebody like Charlie Manson is going to be deterred by a gun-free zone is about as likely as he's going to be deterred by a handicapped parking space. He just doesn't care. None of them care. And we're all supposed to now give up our right to defend ourselves from people like Charlie Manson because of people like Charlie Manson? No. The much bigger point, though, is this. The left was fascinated with Charlie Manson, and the left, many elements of the left actually really admired him quite a bit. Jan Wenner is the publisher of Rolling Stone magazine, consistently far left-wing magazine that has done nothing but bash conservatives and the idea of America for the last 40 years or so. When he was just getting started, this is from a quote from Joe Hagen's book called Sticky Fingers about Jan Wenner, editor of Rolling Stone. And here's a little bite. He says, when Manson trial began in 1970, Wenner, who would then have been about age 24, leaped at the story with an idea for the headline, Charles Manson is innocent. Wenner's headline was less insane than it sounds to modern ears. Manson was already an object of media obsession, a former Haight-Ashbury denizen who drifted to L.A. and collected hippie acolytes for LSD orgies and quasi-biblical prophecies. While the straight world viewed him as a monster, that'd be us, much of Wenner's audience saw him, at least hypothetically, as one of their own, meaning Manson. The underground press of Los Angeles, including the Free Press, cast him as the victim of a hippie-hating media. Bernadine Dohrn was one of the Weather Underground people in about that time. She and William Ayers were domestic terrorists. Barack Obama's first fundraiser was in their living room in Chicago between William Ayers and Bernadine Dohrn. Not long after the Manson murders, Bernadine Dohrn told some of her Weatherman followers, dig it. First, they killed those pigs, then they ate dinner in the same room with them, and then they even shoved a fork into the victim's stomach. Wild. And when Weathermen used to meet at one of their meetings right around that time, they used to spread their fingers indicating the fork. So what does all this matter? Well, somebody asked one of the Weathermen, a guy named Mark Rudd, why him and his otherwise intelligent friends paid homage to Manson. And Mark Rudd replied, we wanted to be bad. And that's pretty much it. They all want to be bad. You look at Antifa, they're just a bunch of middle-class white kids, white boys almost exclusively, and they just want to be bad. And all of these limousine liberals in the Hollywood Hills all wanted to be bad. They just wanted to be bad. They didn't have the guts to actually be bad, but they wanted to feel bad. They wanted to feel that way. They were all sympathetic. This whole thing is part of this gigantic 60s philosophy, that counterculture revolution in the second half of the 60s that has done so much damage to this country and that we are trying to undo on a daily basis. So Charlie Manson is in hell as we speak, and I sincerely hope that he takes the 60s with him and those elements of the society that still remain today, the whole counterculture tumor, can just go and join Charlie where he is right now and And that includes people like former Secretary of State John Kerry and Jerry Brown and all the rest of it. Just go and don't come back. That'll do it for the Nexus Report for the 20th of November, 2017. I'm Bill Whittle. We'll see you tomorrow.